I've seen a lot of videos this month that seem to be produced by reviewers that either haven't used this system in true testing or are simply omitting some of its limitations. After over 1 year using the EcoFlow Wave 2 compact portable HVAC unit in all environments, I've developed a few thoughts about it. And while I won't say that this is the best option for every scenario, it has been a game changer on several days over the last year. The Wave 2 has come in handy for heating and cooling my minivan camper, my tent, and even as a way to air condition some of the small spaces around my home and office. It definitely takes the heat off of those summer blazes while heating adequately during cooler days, with some limitations as the temperature drops into the bitter cold that I'll discuss in this video. The Wave 2 is a heat pump system that uses a compact version of all the components of a typical home HVAC heat pump, making it extremely efficient. Inside is a compressor, a condenser, and a heat exchanger. It has outlets and inlets on both sides, and it works essentially the same way for heating as it does for air conditioning by reversing the cycle. Using a heat pump can achieve heating and cooling effects much higher than the device's rated power usage. However, ambient temperature does need to fall within specific conditions to get optimized results. EcoFlow sent me the Wave 2 HVAC unit last year for test and review, and after using it for that entire year, I wanted to follow up and share some of those pros and cons. For heating, you have to keep in mind that this is not a red element space heater, meaning that it doesn't have an element that you heat up, and as you heat up it turns red and it produces heat. As a heat exchanger, I have found that it works best with the top and front facing outlets inside of the space that you are trying to heat, while the exhaust remains outside. And I know that most folks will say that routing the intake and the exhaust outside of the system is more efficient, but in my testing, my results are much better if I keep these three ports inside of the space that I want to heat. The vacuum created by using it this way is much less of a penalty than trying to pull heat from the extreme cold air outside, especially when hitting temperatures at or below 41 degrees Fahrenheit or around 5 degrees Celsius. This system is simply not designed to heat raw air that is colder than 41 degrees Fahrenheit. And in my uses, it will not heat air in those extreme temperatures. But by routing just the exhaust hose out, you can get some decent results. Please take a second to heat up the like button on this video. I feel like the Wave 2 shines as an air conditioner, and even in some very extreme heat, the outlet provides at least some cooling comfort. I've used the Wave 2 as an air conditioner in my tent during a heat wave last year, and I was glued to this outlet. Visualize getting the relief from one outlet from your car's air conditioner. So in extreme heat, you will definitely want to use this hose and direct the air conditioner to wherever your hotspot is. This thing can lower the temperature in smaller spaces, but the cooling effect can be quickly outpaced in spaces that are larger than a typical bedroom. I have achieved very good results with the system by combining the power of the Wave 2 add-on battery with my EcoFlow Delta 2 Max. By using the Wave 2 in this combination, it will work on max mode all night long with enough juice left over to cook breakfast and make some coffee. It is more efficient to use the straight DC to DC power, but I prefer this configuration to make sure that the system works all night long while I'm relaxing and sleeping. I tested this system on eco mode last year when I first got it, and it does last up to 8 hours with the add-on battery in eco mode, but in all honesty, the conditioning effect in eco mode is minimal at best in anything but the most mild conditions. The add-on battery has 1,159 watt hours of lithium NMC cells, while the Delta 2 Max has 2,048 watt hours of lithium iron phosphate battery. So combined, these two items have 3,200 watt hours of power. If you have the system as configured here, you can charge it with a 400 watt solar panel, but you must have this add-on battery attached to achieve those effects. However, with the Delta 2 Max, you can put up to 500 watts in each of its two ports. So there are multiple ways to configure the Wave 2 system, and in fact, if you max out the solar power capability of the Delta 2 Max, you can essentially run the Wave 2 indefinitely. On max mode, the Wave 2 pulls 600 watts in heating mode and 550 watts in air conditioning mode. And the draw is minimized down to around 200 watts in eco mode. The system has an electronically controlled drain that you will need to turn on in air conditioning mode if the humidity is above 70%, which is basically all the time in my location. And the drain remains on in heating mode. So wherever you plan to install this system, you will want to have something like a container or a place where you can free drain to capture your moisture. You might also want to tilt the Wave 2 just a little bit to make sure it drains properly. So far I've talked a lot about the limitations of the Wave 2 system, but I do want to point out that this is the world's first portable HVAC system that does both heating and cooling, which is an impressive feat. With all accessories in it, it weighs about 50 pounds, and just by itself, it weighs around 32 pounds. So you will definitely be able to haul this to your campsite from your car. Overall, the Wave 2 is an excellent way to beat the summer heat. If you want to know more about the Wave 2, check out the link in the video description. And if you plan to buy one, use my discount code for an even better deal.